When we were intimate, my boyfriend Dean disliked using a condom. To convince me, he underwent a full STD screening. "I'm clean," he'd say, "I just want to be closer to Grace. The wedding is coming soon. If we have a baby, how about we keep it?" I knew Dean had pursued me for 3 years and was afraid I'd change my mind, so I reluctantly agreed. It wasn't until the auction that I suddenly felt dizzy and nauseous, excusing myself to the restroom. When I returned, I saw Dean repeatedly bidding for his assistant, willing to pay an astronomical price for that 10-carat pink diamond. I suddenly realized. Dean thought he had me completely in his grasp, so he wasn't even bothering to pretend anymore. I turned and walked towards his arch-rival. "Buy it. I'll pay." I finished reapplying my makeup and came out of the restroom, just in time to see Tiffany leaning intimately on Dean's shoulder, gently shaking his arm. "Mr. Dean, I want that." I coughed loudly twice. Dean turned, saw me, immediately withdrew his hand, and quickly walked over, his eyes filled with concern. "Grace, are you still feeling nauseous? Are you pregnant?" I frowned. "I'm not sure yet. Why are you so concerned about this?" He smiled and embraced me. "With a child, Grace won't abandon me." Dean had painstakingly pursued me for 3 years. I knew he was anxious about losing me. My heart softened, and just as I was about to comfort him, he turned his head to look at the stage. "Tiffany has been working hard recently, closing several big deals. I want to bid for this pink diamond and give it to her as a company reward for an employee." I looked at him skeptically. "If you want to reward an employee, just give them a bigger annual bonus." I raised my left hand and extended it towards him. "The ring on my finger is only a 10-carat white diamond." Dean smiled and kissed the back of my hand, saying dismissively, "Your engagement ring was personally designed by me. It has a different meaning. Are you jealous?" "Grace, you look so cute when you're jealous." Tiffany, acting playful and flirty, moved closer. "Thank you, Ms. Grace, I'll work hard and take good care of Mr. Dean." I glanced at her disdainfully, not bothering to acknowledge her. Yet, right in front of me, she started acting playful and flirty with Dean. "Mr. Dean is generous and influential. He can definitely win this diamond ring. When you get the ring, Mr. Dean, will you put it on me?" Dean, ignoring my expression, smiled and tacitly agreed. This diamond ring, named Angel's Tear, was the final auction item, and its price quickly soared to 30 million. Dean raised his paddle again. "I bid 50 million. Gasps echoed through the auction hall. People around were stunned by his price, turning their gazes towards us. A server, even more obsequious, approached to refill our champagne. Dean specifically instructed the server, "Grace isn't feeling well. Please replace her drink with hot water." The server quickly swapped my drink for hot water, saying with an envious expression, "Ms. Grace, Mr. Dean truly cherishes you. Not only does he spend lavishly on you, but he also remembers these small details." I offered an awkward smile. They all thought Dean was bidding for Angel's Tear because of me. After the server left, I turned and fixed my gaze on Dean. "All the city's elite circles are watching. Are you really going to give this pink diamond to your assistant? 2. Stop making a fuss, it's just a small gift." Dean was completely focused on the bidding in the auction hall. Without turning his head, he perfunctorily patted my hand. "You have so much jewelry, you won't miss this one." My chest felt like it had been violently struck. What did he mean, won't miss this one? I got up and walked straight to the other side of the hall, taking a seat beside his arch-rival, Marcus. "Miss, what brings you here?" Marcus was startled and quickly sat up straight. "Dad is incredibly jealous. If he sees us, he might hear. He's someone to rough me up." I looked in Dean's direction. He was laughing and talking with Tiffany, completely unaware of my departure. "He doesn't have time right now." I gave a self-deprecating laugh. "By this pink diamond. I'll pay for it." Marcus looked playfully at Dean in the distance, then at me. "Deal." He then pressed the red button beside him. The excited voice of the host echoed through the hall. "Buyer number 11 has sealed the bid dramatically for Angel's Tear." Dean abruptly stood up from his seat. He angrily scanned the entire hall, wanting to see who dared to snatch the item he was determined to win. When he found me sitting beside Marcus, the anger on his face instantly solidified into disbelief. Dean rushed over and grabbed my wrist. "Grace, why are you over here with Mr. Marcus?" I scoffed. "This lady wanted the pink diamond, so I used Mr. Marcus's position to seal the bid dramatically. Is that a problem? Do you know what you're doing?" Dean's face was livid, and he lowered his voice. "If there's something to discuss, we can do it at home. You're publicly humiliating me." "I humiliated you?" I shook off his hand and took a step back. "You publicly bid for a pink diamond only to give it to your assistant. that is what humiliated me. Tiffany stood aside, her eyes red. She pitifully said, Miss Grace, please don't be angry. I'm not worthy of such a fine item. You're certainly not. I rolled my eyes. Grace, watch your words. I looked at him in disbelief. Dean, you're scolding me for an assistant? Grace, that's not what I meant. Realizing his mistake, he quickly tried to soothe me. The people in the hall were drawn to our dispute, turning to look, and whispers rose and fell. At this point, the competition for Angel's tier had concluded, and the sound of the auctioneer's gavel echoed through the hall. Congratulations to buyer number 11, who has won Angel's tier for 80 million. A server carefully escorted the pink diamond over and handed it to Marcus. Ignoring's extremely displeased expression, I took off the engagement ring on my hand and tossed it back to him. Mr. Marcus, please put the ring on me. Miss is truly entertaining. Marcus laughed heartily and, under the astonished gazes of the entire hall, walked over to me. I extended my hand, allowing Marcus to place that priceless pink diamond on my left ring finger. A commotion erupted all around. Oh my God, is Miss breaking off the engagement? Mr. Dean's face has turned green, now there's a show to watch. Are you insane? Dean was enraged by my actions. He roared, his face contorted. Is this how Grandpa taught you? Being so willful, have you considered how this will affect Vance's reputation? How dare he even mention my most respected grandfather? If it weren't for Grandpa, how could he have become the general of Vance, and how would I have agreed to marry him? The nauseous feeling in my chest surged again, and my vision blurred. I suddenly fainted, losing consciousness completely. 3. When I woke up in the hospital room, it was already the next day. Grace, you're awake. Dean saw me wake up and excitedly stood up. The doctor said you're pregnant. You're 6 weeks along. I was actually pregnant. My hand instinctively went to my lower abdomen. It was still flat, yet it cradled a new life. Dean was as excited as a child. He carefully held my hand, brought it to his lips, and kissed it, his voice trembling. Grace, with a child, you'll never leave me again, right? He repeatedly apologized. Grace, yesterday I was a jerk, I was blinded by foolishness. Grandpa is my mentor, I swore before him that I would always cherish you. Yet I made you angry enough to faint. He put the engagement ring back on my finger. I'm sorry, nothing like this will ever happen again. Seeing the earnestness in his eyes, a flicker of warmth rose in my heart. Perhaps I had truly misunderstood him, and maybe his special treatment of Tiffany was just out of concern for an employee. Then fire Tiffany. The expression on his face instantly stiffened, and his gaze shifted evasively. A few seconds later, he said in a coaxing tone, Tiffany's work ability is very strong, and the company can't really do without her right now. She's just an assistant, you're my only love. Don't overthink it. The most important thing now is to take good care of yourself during pregnancy and prepare for our wedding. My heart sank again. Just then, a phone rang, breaking the silence between us. Dean took out his phone, the caller ID showed Tiffany. He hesitated for only a second, then stood up and told me, there's an urgent matter at the company, I have to go deal with it. You get some rest first. No sooner had he left than Tiffany's provocative text message arrived on my phone. Ms. Grace, rest assured and take care of your pregnancy. I'll take good care of Mr. Dean's life. I forgot to tell you, Mr. Dean gave me a big gift to reward my hard work. In the photo, Tiffany was clinging to the man's shoulder like a small bird, and around her neck was a brilliant diamond necklace. The main stone of the necklace was large and radiant, visibly over 10 carats. I replied with a smiling emoji and blocked her contact. Staring at the closed door, a thought emerged from the depths of my heart, chilling me to the bone. Dean's insistence on not using protection earlier might not have been a loss of self-control at all. Instead, it was to completely bind and control me with a child. My phone rang, it was Marcus calling. Miss, how are you feeling? Consider that pink diamond ring a gift from me, I won't accept the check. Distraught, I blurted out, do you know what it means to give a girl a diamond ring? There was a moment of silence on the other end, then his low, serious voice came through, I know. Grace, I like you. Even if I can't marry you, being able to give you a ring is enough. I was stunned. My heart pounded like thunder. And a bold idea surfaced. Marcus, at the wedding tomorrow, do you dare to intervene in the wedding? 4. Early the next morning, Dean arrived at my dressing room with Tiffany. He intimately put his arm around my shoulder, saying casually, Grace, you're pregnant and shouldn't overexert yourself. Let be your bridesmaid, it'll be convenient for her to look after you at all times. His excuse was truly high-sounding. Tiffany was wearing an expensive white designer gown, a style that was 70 to 80% similar to my main wedding dress, only lacking a veil. I looked at Dean coldly. What's the meaning of your assistant wearing something like this to be a bridesmaid? Dean's gaze darted. Perhaps your tastes are similar. With that, he excused himself to prepare for the wedding ceremony and left in a hurry. The makeup artist was doing my makeup, but Tiffany was flitting around, making endless demands. Makeup artist, I think my eye makeup is too light, could you make it a bit darker? This lipstick color doesn't suit me, do you have something brighter? Could my hair be a bit curlier? I want a more glamorous effect. She kept busy for a long time, and the makeup artist spent almost all her energy on Tiffany, while I, the bride, was left neglected. I watched her performance with a cold eye, not bothering to acknowledge this pathetic show. Just then, Tiffany's phone screen suddenly lit up. I glanced at it and instantly froze. The lock screen wallpaper was actually a photo of her and Dean passionately kissing in the office. Ignoring attempts to stop me, I picked up the phone, took a picture of the wallpaper, and sent it directly to Dean. In less than 10 seconds, his call came through. Grace, I was wrong, please let me explain. Explain what? That you were forced to accept her kiss? Do you even believe that yourself? Dean's voice was full of helplessness. Tiffany is with you, isn't she? Put me on speaker. I put him on speaker, and his angry voice came from the other end. Tiffany, why did you set that photo as your wallpaper? Didn't I tell you to be discreet? And today, don't try to steal the spotlight on stage, just sit quietly in the audience. Tiffany, looking wronged, promised she wouldn't dare again. Dean's tone shifted, and he said gently to me, Grace, I've already had a word with her. Don't worry, I'll keep an eye on her from now on and make sure she doesn't make the same mistake again. Don't get angry, it's not good for the baby in your belly. His dismissive attitude made me so angry I laughed out loud. Dean, what kind of person do you take me for? Do you think I can still accept her being by your side? Get her out of here, now. There was a full minute of silence on the other end of the line. Grace, stop making a fuss, okay? For people like us, what's wrong with a man having other women on the side? As long as you're the one he truly loves and commits to, isn't that enough? I couldn't listen anymore. I hung up the phone and slumped onto the chair. In 3 years, it was as if I was seeing Dean clearly for the first time. He loved me, that was true. He loved more than just me, that was also true. Tiffany, standing nearby, was wiping away tears, feeling wronged. Ms. Grace, I won't threaten your position. Why are you targeting me? I shot a glance at her, and Tiffany immediately fell silent, retreating far into a corner. Closing my eyes, I completely discarded the last shred of hesitation and compassion in my heart. The wedding ceremony officially began. The hall was filled with the city's elite circles, and everyone was praising our wonderful union. Dean stood on the stage, his eyes filled with love. He extended his hand, leading me to stand under the spotlight. The wedding vows hadn't even been fully recited, yet he impatiently shouted, I do. His voice, unable to hide his excitement, made the audience below laugh. Miss, do you take Mr. Dean to be your lawfully wedded husband? To L. Of him, comfort him, honor and keep him, in sickness and in health, and, forsaking all others, be faithful unto him, as long as you both shall live? My answer, however, was slow to come. The hall quieted, and everyone's gaze shifted to me. Grace, what's wrong? My gaze fell directly on the entrance of the hall. Suddenly, the tightly closed doors were pushed open from outside, and a tall figure stood silhouetted against the light. 5. Marcus, dressed in a magnificent black suit, extended his hand to me like a peacock displaying its feathers. He actually came. My heart pounded. I shouted loudly at Dean, whose face was livid on stage, I don't. My voice reverberated through the quiet hall like a clap of thunder. You have too many people in your heart, I feel crowded. I threw down the bouquet, kicked off my high heels, and, under the shocked gazes of all the guests, ran resolutely towards Marcus, lifting my skirt. Outside the hall, a helicopter was already hovering over the grounds. Marcus steadily carried me onto the helicopter. The helicopter roared as it ascended. Through the cabin window, I saw Dean chasing after us like a madman, roaring at us. Tiffany, who was behind him, tried to grab his arm, but he slapped her hard, sending her sprawling ignominiously to the ground. Inside the cabin, Marcus, with expectation in his eyes, quietly asked me, to City Hall? I met his fervent gaze and shook my head. I only asked you to intervene in the wedding. I don't intend to marry you immediately. A flicker of almost imperceptible disappointment crossed Marcus's eyes, but he quickly regained his composure. All right, Mississippi, may I formally pursue you then? This time, I didn't refuse. The helicopter carried us aimlessly for a long time. After my emotions calmed, I directed the pilot to fly towards the vance in the city's outskirts. Grandpa had been recuperating at the estate since his stroke. Dean was Grandpa's trusted protege. His ability to lead Vance was entirely due to Grandpa's trust and nurturing. I agreed to this marriage largely to put Grandpa at ease. Now, I had to explain everything to him in person. But I hadn't expected Dean to arrive before me. Just as I reached the door, I heard his voice, filled with grief and indignation, even tinged with a sob, coming from inside. Mentor, I pursued Grace for 3 years, pouring my heart out to her, but she, in front of all the city's elite circles, ran off with another man. This isn't just publicly humiliating me, it's trampling on your reputation and the entire Vance good name. He portrayed himself as a wrong devoted man, every word a condemnation of my heartlessness. I forcefully pushed open the heavy wooden door. Seeing me, Dean immediately rushed over, eyes red, trying to grab my hand. Grace, stop making a fuss. Come back with me, I can forgive you for anything. How about we hold the wedding again? I evaded his touch, walked over to Grandpa, and lowered my head, quietly saying, Grandpa, I'm sorry. Dean has too many women around him, I don't want to marry him. Grace! Dean immediately retorted loudly, leading industries comes with immense pressure. Playing the game is inevitable. Mentor, you must understand me. I just made a common mistake. He looked at me with deep distress. What kind of spell did that playboy Marcus cast on you? How could you choose him? Enough. Grandpa, who had been silent, suddenly looked up, his gaze sharp. My granddaughter can marry whoever she wants. It's not for an outsider like you to dictate. Dean's expression instantly froze. He was stunned for a long time before cautiously saying, Mentor, Grace is already pregnant with my child. And, wasn't it your wish for Grace and me to lead Vance together? Of course she should marry me. 6. Grace's child will naturally bear the Vance name, it is Vance bloodline. Whether or not there's a father isn't important. Grandpa's voice was calm, yet it carried an undeniable authority. I entrust Ted Grace to you to take care of her, not to scheme against her. Dean, did you really think I'd become senile? Dean's face drained of color inch by inch, his lips trembled violently, and large beads of cold sweat rolled down his temples. He wanted to protest, but Grandpa didn't give him another chance to speak. Grandpa picked up the phone beside him and directly called the company's board of directors. Effective immediately, Dean is dismissed from his position as general, and all his authorities are frozen. He is forbidden from participating in any Vance operations or utilizing any Vance resources. Dean was struck as if by lightning, his legs gave out, and he collapsed to the floor. He stared wide-eyed, unable to believe that the mentor who had always treated him like his own son and imparted everything he knew would be so resolute. Mentor, you can't do this to me. I've poured my heart and soul into Vance, if not for merit, then for effort. How can you just because of a woman? A woman? Grandpa's voice carried a chilling coldness. This is my granddaughter, whom I raised with utmost care. She is the Vance bloodline. What are you to speak of her like that? Guards! No sooner had he spoken than the bodyguards waiting outside immediately entered and, without a word, dragged the distraught Dean out. Mentor, you can't do this to me. I truly love Grace. Bang! The door slammed shut, cutting off Dean's shouts. Grandpa turned, his eyes filled with tenderness. Child, no matter what choice you make, Grandpa will always be your strongest support. I couldn't hold back anymore and knelt at Grandpa's feet, sobbing uncontrollably. Grandpa, I'm sorry. I've disappointed you. Grandpa gently stroked my hair, his voice as gentle as a spring breeze. My foolish child, you've never disappointed me. It was I who misjudged and nearly ruined you. In the following days, I formally took over Vance. Dean's sudden departure caused massive upheaval within Vance. The mess he left behind, along with his disloyal former subordinates, felt like mountains pressing down on me, making it hard to breathe. Endless meetings, countless proposals, and one negotiation after another almost drained all my energy. Marcus, acting as a business partner, swiftly helped me stabilize the situation. He introduced me to connections, analyzed situations, and even personally stepped in to finalize the toughest contracts. But he was very discreet, never prying into my private affairs or pressuring me to fulfill any promises, as if the madness of the wedding intervention day was just an illusion. Late that night, he appeared in my office again, carrying a warm late-night snack. I watched him drape a jacket over me and then skillfully tidy the scattered documents on my desk, finally unable to resist speaking. What exactly are you after? He gazed at me, his eyes holding an indescribable tenderness. Years ago, I saw Grace held her own in debates against many at a business forum. At that time, you were proud, confident, your eyes sparkling like they were filled with stars, astonishingly bright. But later, to accommodate Dean, you extinguished that light yourself. He spoke slowly, his voice deep and powerful. I've always wondered when I'd see the Grace with eyes full of life and spark again. He confessed to me that he had been following my progress for a long time. My feelings for you aren't a passing whim, he said, setting down the files and walking towards me, carrying an irresistible presence. They are long planned. I was stunned. It turned out that this seemingly absurd act of revenge was, for him, a long-awaited pursuit. He came up to me, his gaze intense, and placed his large hand over my visibly rounded belly. The warmth of his palm, through the thin fabric, soothed my skin. From the day I decided to like you, I've accepted everything about you, completely. 7 months later, at a charity gala, I attended the event as the new chairwoman of Vance. I walked into the venue, my 6-month pregnant belly prominent, with Marcus's arm linked through mine. All eyes focused on me, and whispers rose and fell. The heiress is truly impressive, she bounced back so quickly. Look at Mr. Marcus beside her, his eyes are practically glued to her. He truly dotes on her like the apple of his eye. A faint smile played on my lips as I enjoyed the envious glances of the crowd. Suddenly, I spotted a familiar figure in a corner of the hall. Dean, wearing a noticeably ill-fitting suit, was wandering along the edges of the crowd with a pale and gaunt Tiffany. They wore fawning smiles, trying to squeeze into any circle they could reach. Seeing me, his eyes lit up, and he rushed over recklessly, grabbing my wrist. Grace, you finally appeared. His voice trembled, his eyes holding a morbid fervor. I frowned and struggled free. Let go of me. No, I can't let go. He gripped tighter. Grace, I was wrong. I truly know I was wrong. Marcus's eyes darkened. He subtly stepped forward, effortlessly pried Dean's hand off, and shielded me behind him. Dean was sweating profusely from anxiety. Grace, you're carrying my child, we still have a chance. A child needs a father. Tiffany also followed, wearing a cheap dress, her makeup exquisite but unable to hide her haggardness. She looked at me piteously, her eyes brimming with tears. Ms. Grace, Mr. Dean just loves you too much, please forgive him. I swept a cold glance at her. Is it your place to speak? Tiffany bit her lip, her tears flowing even more fiercely. I know I'm not worthy of Mr. Dean, I just want to stay by his side. Before she finished speaking, Dean abruptly raised his hand and slapped her hard across the face. Smack. A sharp, resounding slap landed squarely on Tiffany's face. Who told you to run your mouth? Bitch. Dean roared. Then, like a dog begging for scraps, he eagerly turned to me. Grace, look, she's not even worth a finger compared to you. Just one word from you, and I'll make her disappear from my sight. Forever. Tiffany clutched her swollen face, looking at Dean in disbelief, tears streaming down. She ran out, covering her face, her figure utterly pathetic. Dean looked at me expectantly, as if hoping I would change my mind because of how he treated Tiffany. I watched the farce unfolding before me and chuckled softly. Tiffany might not be a good person, but she was truly devoted to you. I calmly looked at Dean. You truly are a heartless and emotionless man. No, Grace. He panicked. My reaction was completely unexpected. I just wanted to prove to you that you're the only one in my heart, that others mean nothing to me. Enough. I interrupted him, took a file envelope from Marcus's hand, and slapped it directly onto Dean's face. First, let's see if you're the father of the child in my womb. Dean froze for a moment, then shakily opened the file envelope. It was a paternity test report. His gaze was fixed on the paper, reading word by word from top to bottom, his hands trembling so much he could barely hold it steady. The conclusion of the report explicitly stated, the biological father of Ms. Grace's unborn child is Mr. Marcus. Dean was completely stunned. He stared intently at the report, as if he couldn't believe his own eyes. Impossible. This is impossible. He let out an inhuman shriek. This child is clearly mine. Clearly mine. People around us cast strange glances, and some began taking out their phones to record. Dean completely broke down. He finally understood that he had not only lost Vance and me, but even his last bargaining chip, the child he thought was his, wasn't his after all. Everything he had done had become a colossal joke. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. He shook his head frantically, lunging forward to try and grab me. I, however, merely linked my arm with Marcus's, took a cold step back, and watched dispassionately as two tall security guards firmly restrained him. He struggled desperately, his roars echoing throughout the hall. I truly love you. We still have a chance. Grace. The hall doors slammed shut, cutting off his last delusional hope. 8. In the delivery room, I tightly clutched Marcus's hand. The intense pain of contractions tore through my body, and sweat drenched my face. Marcus's palms were covered in sweat. He was even more nervous than I was. Grace, look at me. I'm here. I gritted my teeth, exerting all my strength. A loud cry filled the air, and the nurse placed the baby in my arms. Congratulations, it's a girl, and she's very healthy. I looked at that wrinkled little face, and my heart was instantly filled to the brim. Tears unexpectedly streamed down. Marcus carefully looked at the baby, his eyes filled with awe. He gently stroked her tiny face, his voice trembling. Grace, she's so beautiful. In the hospital room, Marcus, holding our daughter, suddenly knelt beside my bed. Grace, marry me. Seeing the sincerity in his eyes, my heart pounded. You know this child isn't yours. Are you still willing? Marcus paused for a moment, then unhesitatingly squeezed my hand. It's Grace I love, it has always been just you. This child is a part of your life, fought for and brought into the world by you. I will love and protect her as if she were my own biological daughter. My eyes welled up. That paternity test report was forged by me, just to make Dean give up completely. In reality, the child was indeed Dean's, but was willing to accept everything. The last defense in my heart crumbled under his fervent gaze. I gently stroked my daughter's cheek. That sounds good. But it still depends on your actions. He understood my unspoken meaning, and a brilliant smile spread across his face. He nodded emphatically. Okay, as you wish. I'm ready for continuous evaluation. On our daughter's birth certificate, the father's section was left blank. Her name is Luna. She is Grace's daughter, the rightful sole heir of Vance. She is the greatest comfort of my life. Time flew by. Luna's 2-year birthday celebration was held on the grounds of the Vance. The sun was perfect, the breeze gentle, and the guests were all close friends and family. Grandpa sat in the main seat, beaming. In these 2 years, Marcus had fulfilled his promises through his actions. He turned down countless unnecessary social engagements just to come home early and tell our daughter bedtime stories. He would quietly wait for me outside my office with a warm late-night snack when my board meetings ran late into the night. He pampered my daughter and me like princesses in the most unassuming yet sincere way. As the banquet was in full swing, my phone vibrated. It was a message from an unknown number. Former corporation CEO Dean was arrested on multiple charges, including business fraud and embezzlement, and could face over 10 years in prison. And the crucial informant was none other than Tiffany, whom he had publicly slapped and utterly disheartened. I looked at the text, feeling no ripples in my heart. That slap, in the end, struck Dean's own downfall. He had personally turned Tiffany's admiration into a poisoned weapon, striking himself. I looked up, my gaze sweeping over the crowd and settling on the grounds in the distance. Marcus was holding Luna, dressed in a princess dress, high in the air, making her giggle with delight. Sunlight bathed them, forming a warm tableau. I long pressed the screen and selected delete for the message. Like brushing a speck of dust from a sleeve, everything from the past held no meaning for me anymore. I smiled and walked towards them. Luna saw me, immediately extended her chubby little hands, and rushed into my arms, sweetly calling out Mom. Marcus naturally put his arm around my shoulder. His warm breath brushed my ear, carrying a hint of expectation and imperceptible nervousness. Chairwoman, after 2 years of evaluation, what score would you give my performance? Can the probationary period finally end? I turned my head and pressed a soft kiss on his lips. Probation approved for permanent status. Seeing the euphoria that instantly burst forth in his eyes, I gave a mischievous smile and added, however, Mr. Marcus, remember this. I drew out my words, meeting his loving gaze, and said slowly, word by word, even with permanent status, the evaluation is ongoing. He paused for a moment, then burst into hearty laughter. He tightly embraced my daughter and me together, and amidst the warm sunlight and the blessings of friends and family, he gave me the most affirmative answer, as you command, my queen.